what makes something hard? Like just in and of itself, like what actually makes something hard? And so if we think about this as an aversive stimulus or a negative stimulus, then you have, because habituation happens on both sides. And this is what I think is so fascinating, because it's like, okay, well, I wanted this big thing to happen. I wanted the Rolls Royce. I wanted the Ferrari, whatever. I saved my whole life, and here I am, right? And I was happy for a week, and then all of a sudden I got used to it, right? So I was like, why can't I habituate to the suck? Right? Why can't I habituate to the suck? And the thing is that you do. The only thing is that what makes the suck keep sucking is what makes punishment effective, which is increasing intensity and variety. And so if you want to effectively punish someone, you can't just keep punishing them the same way. You have to increase intensity and change how you do it. So I think about death all the time because it's probably the central theme. It's probably the thing that I think the most about. And I think that influences how I see time and also how I think, how it influences agency. Like what actions I'm willing to take despite the judgment of others. And so a lot of times, and it might be because I have more insecurity than everyone, that I think like, man, I want to do this thing. And then I hear all these other voices of reasons why I shouldn't do it, or why somebody else will say like, that's bad, or you're bad, or like, that's wrong, whatever. And so I think I've had to come up with a lot of these devices to get around my own insecurities, to take action despite those insecurities. And the biggest one that I think about is that it doesn't matter whether I achieve all of my goals or I don't achieve all of the goals. In 3 generations, I'll be forgotten, and the only people who were naysaying against me will also be dead. And so then it's like, just do it for me. And then when I wake up every day, there's only one voice I have to listen to. I think a lot of entrepreneurship and even personal growth is training yourself on how you respond to hard. Because in the early days, hard was, ooh, stop. This isn't good. I should, this is a warning sign. This is a red flag. I should slow down, or I should stop, I should pivot. But the more I think about it as a competitive landscape, as I'm clear on what this path is supposed to look like, and these rocks and these dragons are things that I'm going to have to slay along the way to get the princess or get the treasure, I get happier about the harder it is because I know that no one else will follow.
It's a selection effect.
And I think if you can shift from this is hard to no one else will be able to do this, then it flips from being this thing that you're like, oh, poor me, to oh, poor everyone else who's gonna have to fucking try. And I think that is so much more motivating as a frame for the exact same circumstance. Even a few hundred years ago, people just worked every day. And it wasn't like, oh my God, that guy's so hardcore. It's just like, he just worked every day because that was just kind of the expectation. And you just like had to live and had to survive. And if he had enough to eat for a day off, he could probably do that if he wanted to. And so I think about that a lot, which is like a lot of these confines are self-inflicted. And I think laddering up the belief set to like, does this serve me? And so the idea of like, how do you develop work ethic? I think the big thing is like, it's not really developing work ethic. It's doing the things that you have been rewarded for doing in the past and removing things that you don't enjoy as much. And then it gets easier to do more because you enjoy doing the thing you're doing. I think the vast majority of people don't actually know what it looks like to put tremendous effort into something. And I think one of the most valuable things that the office, which now you're going to have, has given me is the people who now work in my proximity. One of the number one things that I get back as feedback is like, I really didn't understand how much he works, and like he doesn't stop. And it's easy to say these things, and it's hard to actually, because one of the difficulty is, especially the vast majority of successful people have one thing in common, which is they're consistent. And consistency you cannot see in a snapshot. You can't see consistency in a soundbite. You can't see consistency in a reel. And so consistency is one of those things I think you talked about, unlearnable lessons. I think they are difficult to learn without large amounts of exposure. And so I think those are the types of lessons that become unlearnable, is that you need large amounts of exposure in order to encapsulate the lesson itself. And so trying is one of those. I think a hopeful message that anyone can think about who's in that hard period or in that start period is that it won't get harder. Like, this is the hardest part. And so if you can just make it through this, everything else is downhill. It's not that the things that the dragons you're going to slay aren't going to get bigger. They are. But you become so much more equipped to slay them back. and you have so many more allies. You have people in the stands cheering for you. You have the audience. You have all of these other things that are behind you. But in the beginning, it's just you with a stick against a bear. And arguably, that fight is a harder fight to win than beating a dragon when you have a nuclear bomb and 6 nations behind you. And so it's not even like the size of the hardship, it's just also the resources and how few of them you have, and how so much of the beginning is literally burning the one thing you have, which is time. Because you have no leverage. You don't have the money to pay other people to help you. You don't have the resources to go get someone no one can learn it for you. It's like there's a lot of the things that we care about a lot, like no one can work out for you. It doesn't matter how much money you have. No one can learn skills for you. And so in the early days, it feels so painful because you're you look around to see who can help you, and then you're like, fuck, it's me again. I have had days that I have good days, and I have days that I have bad days. And I have suffered during the year that I was off, and I have suffered during the years that I work a lot. And so my objective experience hasn't really dramatically changed year to year. I think it's slightly improved, more so because of my basically just skills have improved in terms of how I can reframe reality. That's gotten a lot better. But by and large, if all of our experience is how we choose to perceive the world, then it's all in our heads anyways. And so it's really just trying to flex that muscle more over time. And so why do I do what I do now? Because what else would I do? And if I did something different, I'd probably enjoy it about the same anyways. So when I was back in the fraternity days, I was in the SEC, which is the South, and they were notorious for heavy hazing. And so I was going to join as a pledge. And so I called my dad up and I was like, hey, I don't know what's going to happen, blah, blah, blah. And he said this to me, which actually was one of the strongest things that was my frame going into it because of what he said. He said, there is nothing that they can do to you that you have not already had worse happen. And it was this great, they can't do anything worse than what I've already had happen. And so going into all of these, it was this very comical, oh my God. I was like, this is so much not as bad as this other stuff that I've had to go through. And I think that, to your point of you have only worked as hard as you've ever worked, the frame of I can stand it because I am not dead. I'm living proof every day that I have withstood everything that I have been through, which I think almost all of us could probably give ourselves a little bit more credit. And the day that you can't stand it anymore, you won't have to.